back, everyone. So I have a familiar face coming back on with us today. I have interviewed this author before about 6 months ago. And so we're going to check in because she has some super awesome books coming out and we want to talk about them a little bit. So I'm going to welcome on the lovely Patricia Bates. How are you today?
How are you guys doing all today? Thank you so very much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and talk about the new projects that are coming out.
Yes, well, it is bright and sunny here. I know it's obviously cold and it's nighttime for you in Canada now, isn't it?
It's getting there. It's actually not too bad. We were supposed to get a massive storm today, and it didn't materialize, which is really really nice. And I think it was we got up to 11 degrees Celsius above, which is fairly warm for March in the prairies.
Okay, let's get straight into it. What have you been up to in the last 6 months? Because I know you've been super busy. What have you been working on?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I have actually been in the process of actually writing 4 different books. One of which, Chains of Rome, I just released on pre-order, which is available now as an ebook in pre-order for a massively discounted price. And then I also have the print available for purchase for Chains of Rome, and that is a dark, gritty, ancient historical set in Rome during the time of the gladiators. I have another one that is a contemporary paranormal romantic suspense with supernatural elements. I'm about a third of the way through, which is a follow-up of my release last summer, A Hunter's Desire. It's actually a continuation, and it features Rebel and Gideon and a new character by the name of Cooper, who is he's a cop who moves into this house that is otherwise occupied. And then I've got two that I'm currently in the process of working on under my pen name, Elise Wiles, which one is for the Forsaken series. It's a continuation, and that book is due for release in May of this year. And then I have another one that is a dragon shifter romance that features an alpha dragon and who has secrets, and there's subterfuge and political drama, and what looks to be the way it goes is not really the way it's gonna go.
Wow. All right. So you've been very, very busy. And I remember we even spoke about some of these outside of our interview last time. We had spoken about a couple of these projects. And it's so crazy that you've nailed them all within 6 months. And here we are. I want to actually talk a little bit more about Chains of Rome. So that one is coming out soon, which I'm super excited about. I actually have my copy on its way. So I'm excited to read this. Tell us a little bit more about that one.
Chains of Rome is a really gritty, dark, in-your-face, grab you by the throat and shake you up kind of romance. It is the story of two slaves. One, it was born into slavery. The other was actually taken off the battlefield and thrown into the lifestyle. And it's really the story of Solaria, who it goes from being the mistress of the house's body slave to being a gladiator. She is she's very strong-willed. She's very unique in a lot of ways. She kind of doesn't fit her role as a slave just because of the skills that she has, the power that she has. And when we start off the book, we really get to see her as a slave, as the body slave, as someone who is, basically beneath the notice of her owners. And it's the story of how she grows. And when she meets the hero Tritus, they form kind of a symbiotic relationship, because he's really impressed with this woman who is compassionate. She is caring, but at the same time, she is willing to go to the ends of the underworld to protect herself and to protect those who she deems protectable, or those who are worthy of it. Her thing is the children of Villa. She is very focused on protecting the children. She usually gives them extra rations and that sort of thing. And he sees this. So being that he is not familiar with slavery, there's a situation that evolves and they kind of come together, and she acts as his guide and his lifeline, if for want of a better word. And he acts as her protector because, he's a big brawny, I just come off the battlefield and I can kick your butt kind of guy. But he's an alpha without being an alpha. He's very, this is the way things are. I don't like Rome. I'm not going to stay as a slave forever. I'm going home. I'm taking my leave here as soon as I can. I'm going to plot my way out of this. And he really kind of learns how things work. And he takes it upon himself to protect Celeria no matter the cost. And so what he does is he breaks all of the rules and begins to train her as a gladiator. Now, this is strictly forbidden. It's not permitted by the dominus or the dominant of the house. Actually, if either one of them were to find out, both of them could be put to death because that's just the way that they are. This story, you will love to hate the antagonists and root for the protagonists. It's just, and there's a power shift partway through the book, and we get to see some of the secrets and some of the betrayals that have happened over the course of Celeria's lifetime, and we get to see a little bit more of what happens, why things are going the way they are, and we really get to see her come into her own and become a driving force in the story, and a woman who is not afraid of making choices and living by those choices.
I'm so excited to get my copy on this one because you've spoken to me about it. I was like, okay, because I don't usually read historical romance myself. That's not usually a genre I would go to, so I'm very curious. But that was a sales pitch if I've never heard one before because I am so excited for my copy now. Like, yes, I cannot wait. Okay, so tell me then, what was your greatest challenge and your greatest reward in writing this book?
This book, the greatest challenge, I think, was historical accuracy and really making sure that I stayed within the time frame, the time period, and differentiated between the statuses. There's ways of talking, there's ways of communicating between that are different amongst the slaves as opposed to the slaves to their masters. And I really that was one of the challenges, was making sure that I stayed within those parameters while still making it readable. Because that was the thing, you can put a book together and it can be within a time period, but if it's not readable, it's really challenging, and you're not going to get a lot of readers that are going to stay with it. And this one that was what I wanted. I wanted the reader to feel like they were sitting next to Celeria as she's getting ready to go onto the sands to face her first opponent. I wanted the reader to really feel like Tritus when he's standing there negotiating for his freedom, trying to buy his freedom and learning that he's being betrayed. So that was a big challenge. And I went a little deeper than what I normally do. I went deep point of view. So there's a lot of emotional showing in this book, not so much telling. So the reader, it's not a light read, it's kind of a heavy read. So I wanted to kind of balance that out. So there's a little bit of tell in there and there's a lot of show, but I wanted to keep that balance. The biggest reward for this book, I think, honestly, was just the reaction that I got from my beta readers, my critique partners, and hearing them and seeing their reactions as we're going through this book page by page and doing critiques and edits and revisions and working on this book, and just seeing that and knowing that, hey, these ladies don't read this genre, and here they are, they're going, oh my God. No, the emotional reactions were just absolutely phenomenal. I was doing a session with one of the critique partners, and we were sitting there, and we're going through. And this particular chapter had a lot of twists and turns, and it had a lot of flip backs, and you think you're moving forward, but in reality you're moving backwards. And so there was lots going on in this chapter, and she's working away, and all I hear is this, no, no, you didn't, yes. And to me, that was really powerful, because she doesn't read this genre, so to have that reaction really was the biggest reward, I think. And I'm really hopeful that my readers will enjoy it as well.
So you predominantly, when you first started, you were writing this genre. So I'm curious as to whether you've done any within this like era around Rome before, or whether this is all new for you. Was there any previous research that you'd done for other books that helped you for this?
Not for Rome, no. I have done other historicals. I've done them on ancient Ireland, Spain, France, the American West, Canadian history. But I didn't actually delve into Rome per se before this book. I mean, I've always loved history. It's one of my things. But I didn't actually sit down and ever write anything that is in the Roman era, other than, a mention here or there. And those mentions were so superficial that they don't really count. I mean, it's anyone who's ever been through grade school will know, the mentions that I've made. So for this one, it was a lot of research. And I think that's why it took so long to write this book, because this book was almost a year in the making. And I think it was because I was doing just as much research as I was doing writing. And when I do research, I don't just get a detail and go with it. I take that detail and I go, oh, okay, well, now I've got this detail. I need to follow that up. Can I find that detail as an accurate detail in one or two other places? So, it's cross-referencing and checking. And I think that was probably the biggest thing for me was just the research and delving into it, because this is something that I had never done.
What I find so fascinating too about the way you work as well is that you are able to multitask on different projects. And we've spoken about this briefly before, but you have the ability to write more than one book. And it's not just one or two books, it's 5 or 6 books at a time, which is like, that still blows my mind that you're able to do that. So I guess then it isn't surprising in a way that it took you, like, a year is still quite short, one would say, to write a book. But the fact that you're putting all this research in as well, and then doing all these side projects too, did you find that sometimes the seriousness, I guess, well, it was probably fun for you because you like history, but having to focus on researching all the time with that it probably helped that you had the other projects to sort of go to a different headspace?
It did. It really did, because sometimes it was overwhelming, the amount of information that I was getting and the amount of information that I'm cross-referencing and going from one reference point to the next. So having the other projects that I've been working on has been really beneficial. And I found too that by being able to step away from Chains of Rome periodically, it actually made me want to write it even more. So I think that was a huge part for me, was having that break and being able to recharge my creative batteries with other projects and then come back to this with a fresh eye.
We were recently talking about this about a week ago, because you had me on your channel, which is Distinct Authors, and that was a lot of fun. So I want to know why you started Distinct Authors, and for viewers that are watching, what it is, what you have to offer, and why.
So Distinct Authors is a multi-platform channel. On that channel, there's a little bit of everything. So I have author interviews, I have videos on the craft, on how to do certain things, how to revive back titles. I started it originally as a place for book trailers, because I was dabbling in book trailers and I wanted somewhere I could put them and for my own books. And then I got at this idea of, I've been in this industry for so long. I would really like to be able to share what I have learned and the knowledge that I've gained in being in this industry, and offer tips and tricks especially to newer authors, because sometimes it can be very overwhelming, when you're looking at it, because there's so much there's so much misinformation around the information that's out there, you know, on what an editor's job is, or, you know, what to look for in a cover, or, you know, and all of these different aspects of it. So I wanted to create something that would really showcase my knowledge and give back to the writing community, because I don't see other authors as competitors. I see them as part of the same network. We're all in this together. There's lots of readers to go around. You know, I read it in multiple genres, and I read multiple authors. So for me, it was just, you know, it was like, okay, well, these are my sisters, my brothers in this industry. If I can give back in any way, then, you know, hopefully it does resonate. And so that was the brainchild. That was the idea behind the channel. And this year it's been a little bit hectic because I've had a few things going on, but I am going to be doing, I'm actually got a list right now of 6 different videos that I'm currently working on to get ready. And then I'm going to be starting to do a release every week and get back into the consistency of posting. And I'm hoping to actually do a mixture of interviews, as well as how to or industry specific videos throughout the months, so that you know, it's not always the same thing. There's some fun stuff mixed in, because it's a lot of fun to talk to other authors.
I love that, because it is like, it's kind of very similar in different styles as to what we're doing here today. And it's so fun to talk with other authors and see what they're doing and where they're going with their career and what's happening. And you learn heaps of cool things. I want to know then, what is your 3 top tips for new authors then?
First tip would definitely have to be, you know, when you are writing, do not edit as you go. Write your first draft. The first draft is you telling yourself the story. Don't expect perfection on your first draft. Even authors who have been doing this for years do not have their first draft perfect. It's the foundation. It's the foundation of what you're going to do. So go into it with that idea of, I'm laying my foundation. Once the foundation is laid, then I can build up and have this beautiful project in front that is ready to go on the market. Second tip is, when you start, do a business plan. If you are serious about this industry, if you're serious about making this your career, if you're serious about making money at this, sit down, do a business plan, do a marketing plan, and make sure that you update that marketing plan every 3 months. Because, you know, what works once might not work for the second time, and what works for one genre may not work for another. Understanding that you need to have your foundation, your platform focused on your goals, is the first step to a long-term success, because this is not a short game. This is a long game. And that's what you really need to understand is this is a business. It's not a hobby. If you're serious about this, treat it as a business. Invest in a business plan, invest in a marketing plan. And if you don't know something, find someone that's willing to help you, a coach, someone who can do PR for you, whatever it is that you don't know. Get some help on and really focus on it and really push through and do it. The third tip, invest in your book. Your 2 biggest expenses are going to be your cover art and your edits. Those are your 2. Invest in them. You know, if you have to spend $200 on a cover, you spend that $200, because your cover is your commercial packaging, and your reader is going to look at that, and if it's not genre specific, if the typography is off, if there's anything that doesn't fit what you're trying to communicate, you're not going to see sales. So your cover has to be done professionally. I see so many newbies, so many new authors, you know, on social media. Oh, well, can you use this? You know, I got my pictures from this free site or that free site. Never use free sites, because honestly, you don't know if you're going to have the appropriate license to go with it. So if you don't have the skills, hire a designer. There are tons of pre-mades out there that are absolutely gorgeous that you can pick up that fit any budget, you know. So yeah, those would be my top 3 tips for new authors just starting out.
What has been in the last 6 months since we last spoke? What would you say your greatest accomplishment has been?
Um, my greatest accomplishment in the last 6 months, I would have to say, is um, finishing Heart of the Underworld, finishing the Chains of Rome, getting Chains of Rome released. Putting out the 2 anthologies that I did earlier this year. I did one under my pen name Elise Walls. I was part of an anthology in February, and then I did one in Christmas time through the Romantics Critique group. Have yourself a very merry romantic Christmas. So I having successfully been able to actually put the number of books that I've got out at this point has been what I would say would be my greatest. And launching my cover art business. I think that would be those are the big ones that I've got done this in the last 6 months.
That's a lot to accomplish in 6 months. So there is a prickly question you asked me on the last one, and I feel like it's just going to thread straight back in here. How do you deal with not burning out? Because you have a lot on your plate. How do you find balance?
I do a disconnect. So unless I have a deadline, which I do now for edits, I have till Friday to get back the edits on Heart of the Underworld. But I typically try and take at least one day out of the week and disconnect, where I'm not working on covers, I'm not working on books, I'm not writing, I'm doing something else, whether it's getting out of the house and going for a drive, whether it's sitting and crocheting and listening to music, whether it's picking up a book and reading it, cooking, whatever it is. I try and disconnect away from the computer, away from the book stuff. And I find that really does help, because the other 6 days out of the week are constant book, even when I'm not working on my book stuff, even when I'm not around my office. So really taking that time out and then rewarding myself. So when I completed a project like Chains of Rome, that one, when I completed it, other than having the muse who decided she was going to give me a new idea, I said to myself, no, I need to reward myself. So I made an appointment to get my hair done. So I'm going to get my hair done to celebrate that I completed that one. And that's what I do, is I disconnect. I take a day for myself or a morning for myself, and really just kind of focus on things that aren't connected to my books. And that day I schedule my posts. I schedule my posts on social media, on the blog, or, whatever it is that I need to have out that day. I will schedule it and then try and just forget about it. And even if that means that I turn off Facebook for the day, turn off Messenger, turn off everything, and just, play a card game, play games with the family, go for a walk, take the dog for whatever it is, so that I have that time to recharge the battery. Because burnout is real. Burnout is devastating, and it can ruin your career, really, because you don't want to do anything when you burn out. You just want to rest, and you lose interest, and it's just like it becomes a chore, and that's not what I want. I want to be able to enjoy this. I have great plans for my writing. I have great plans for my career, and the only way I'm going to get to those plans is if I give myself the time to recharge my batteries, my creative batteries.
And as you said before, this is the long haul, so it's consistency, not like smashing it out as quickly as you can, because you will lead to burnout, and that's not in it for the long run.
Yes.
We are going to play a little game. It's a new segment since last time we spoke. It is called Speed Dating with an Author. So you and I are going to go on a little date. I have a candle. I'm ready. So we're going to get straight into it. So it's basically very similar to the last one I had, which was 5 rapid questions. It's the same thing.
Okay.
What's one of the clumsiest moments you've ever had?
Oh my God. Falling upstairs, does that count?
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many people actually reply with that answer.
Yeah, I have mastered that skill. Never mind falling down the stairs, falling up the stairs.
Do you have a very epic example of this skill?
Yes, I was a little younger than I am now. I went to work and I was working in an office and they had stairs up to the office. They didn't have an elevator because the building didn't, it was an older building, no elevator. And so I come in through the main doors and I go to work and I get 2 steps up and I went to step up. And when I stepped up, I was wearing I was wearing dress slacks and I caught the hem of my pants in my heel. And yeah, I went, face first. It was like, thankfully I saved my lunch, but that was.
How was your face?
The face not so much, but the lunch was good.
What are the 3 words that you would use to best describe yourself?
I am an extroverted introvert. Well, that's 2 words, isn't it? An unpredictable extroverted introvert.
What is the song that best describes you?
Crazy by Patsy Cline.
Okay.
I have to be with the workload that I have. I get rid of one and I get to, it just totally fits me.
It is quite fitting when you put it like that. What is your life motto?
Look for the positives, ignore the negatives.
Okay, I like that one. I feel like I live by that one. Oh, I try to anyway.
Yes. It can be challenging to live by, but I firmly believe that if you allow yourself to get mired down with negative energy, it has a long-term effect and you never really recover. So it's always look for the bright spots and try to avoid the dark ones.
What is a unique skill set that you have that not many people know of?
I am an avid crocheter. I do all sorts of things. I do crochet period costumes for Barbie dolls, and I do crochet jewelry as well.
Wow. That's quite, okay, I'm curious. Do you have photos on your Instagram and stuff like that?
I have not put any up yet. I'm not one of those that takes a lot of pictures. I'm actually trying to develop a catalog of all the stuff that I'm doing. I do have a project that is partially finished. I can show you if you like.
Yes, yes.
This is a table. This will be a table runner eventually, and then there's 3 of these big ones, and then these flowers run all the way around in a serpentine to wrap around the three big ones.
How long does that take you to make?
This one, they're not, it's usually I eke out a bit of time. It can take, depending on the size that I'm working with, it can take me anywhere from a couple of hours to, like these small motifs, I can do these in like 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes max. The bigger ones do take me a few hours. They'll usually take me about 8 to 10 hours. Because I'm using a really fine thread, I'm using a gauge 10 thread. If I'm doing an Afghan or I'm doing like a sweater or something, I can usually do that in a day. So it all depends on the size of the thread or the yarn that I'm using, the needles, what it is. But yeah, I'm getting pretty fast, and I can do like the necklaces that I did a bunch of necklaces for my girls and friends, and those I can do in like half an hour with the clasps on. Yeah.
That is correct. Like, I admire that so much because you have no idea how terrible I am at, like, home economics was not my class. Mine was basically the class's communal project together because I'm so hopeless. So I appreciate and admire your skill set.
I started doing it. I have been crocheting, and I'm totally dating myself here, but I have been crocheting since I was a little girl. I started learning from my grandmother, and then I got way past her skill level. And the neighbor, I had a neighbor lady that was teaching me some others, and then I started learning myself, and then I started learning how to read patterns and become self-taught. And then it was And then it was designing my own patterns for different things, bags and scarves and that sort of thing. And now it's like, okay, well, I need to just, I need to see how I do this. And then once I've watched, like I've read through the pattern, or I've done it a time or two, then it's like, oh, okay, I know what I need to do. So it's definitely, it's a challenge. I love doing it. I find it to be very relaxing. But I think it's an art form that is in jeopardy. I don't know a lot of people my age who do it. Knitting, yeah, I know lots of people that knit, but crochet, no. And if I can crochet, I can tat, which is lace making. So there's a lot of skills that kind of go over. And I do Irish crochet, which is it's a very fancy type of crochet where you're making lace with threads, and it's very beautiful, but it's a lot more time consuming than making a table runner or a blanket or a hairband or whatever, because of the number of how you're doing it and what you're doing with it. So
Wow. Well, so this date went very, very well. I would love to go on another, because I'm like, you can supply me with all kinds of things and clothes, and this is wife material right here. So yes, tell us what's coming up for you. Those are all my questions. So where do we find you? Where do we find Chains of Rome? And what else is coming in the next 6 months?
okay, so you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I am currently looking at TikTok, but I'm not there yet. You can also find me on Goodreads. You can also find me on my website, www.patriciabates.com. Anyone who signs up for my newsletter is going to be entered into a draw to get an autographed copy of Chains of Rome if they enter between now and April 9th, which is super exciting for me. And my newsletter only goes out twice a month, so it doesn't clog up inboxes. So there's that. I'm currently working with someone right now. A friend of mine is kind of giving me some feedback because I'm actually looking at doing an audio version of Chains of Rome, which should come out, if it all goes according to plan, should be out this fall or early winter. I'm hoping for an October, November release of the audio. Which is going to be super exciting. I have, under Elise Wiles, I have another book in the Forsaken series, Heart of the Underworld, which is due out at the end of May. That's a tentative release schedule, is the end of May. We're hoping for a little bit earlier in May, but by the end of May. I have another book, which is the contemporary romantic suspense, paranormal, supernatural, one, which is going to be really awkward to categorize. That one I am hoping to actually have out this summer. And then under the new pen name that I have of Anna Mian, I am working on a erotic historical set in 17th century England. And I'm actually hoping to have that one out for betas and ARCs by November or December of this year.
Okay. that is so much. Wow, that's really inspiring. But I know if anyone can do it, you can do it. Which is why it's really nice having you on here, because you really do have that go-getter attitude, but as long as you're keeping the balance as well, which is what I really appreciate about you.
I'm excited. I'm really excited. And I'm actually hoping to be launching this summer, which is not related to my books, but I am putting together a marketing coach program. I'm actually hoping to be launching that this summer, where I am going, the program that I'm designing right now is to work one-on-one with authors to develop a marketing plan and a marketing strategy for creating their brand and their platform. And so I have a couple of very willing victims or volunteers who are working with me to do this, so that they can kind of get a handle on what they need and what they to do and how to do it and that sort of thing. They're doing the legwork. I'm just acting as support and that sort of thing. So I'm looking at that, and then Hopefully, fingers crossed, toes crossed, we will have an answer sometime this year in whether in getting the Forsaken series before a production company, getting it out there and hopefully getting it optioned and possibly made into either a TV series or a movie. I would really love to see it go to Netflix or Amazon Prime, just because I think it would make a really good series as opposed to movies. Not that I would turn down a movie offer by any stretch of the imagination. I totally would take it. But I think it's just because there's so much going on. I don't think movies could do it justice. I think it would have to be a TV series. So we'll see how the year goes.
I'm so excited. This is so exciting. Thank you so much for hopping back on though, Patricia. I've absolutely adored having you back on. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I have so much fun when I come, so it's like, okay.
That's what I like to hear, yes. And I feel bad for leaving you now because I'm all jacked up on caffeine and I don't know how the rest of my day is going to look, but I hope you have a wonderful evening.
Slightly less chaotic than mine.
Maybe. I love it. Well, I'm going to love you and leave you. Have a good evening.
You as well. Thanks again.
That's all right. Bye.